Your baby is watching everything. They can't speak, they can't explain, and they can't tell you when something hurts inside. But here's what most parents never realize. Every moment with your baby is being recorded, not as a memory, but as the blueprint of who they will become. I'm not talking about abuse. I'm not talking about neglect. I'm talking about 10 completely normal, loving, well-intentioned things that parents do every single day. Things nobody warns you about. Things that quietly shape your baby's emotional world in ways you cannot see. The consequences are real, they're neurological, they're developmental. Some of them last a lifetime. Stay with me because number 4 is something almost every parent does during the first year, and the science behind it is going to stop you in your tracks. And by the time we reach number 7, you'll never look at an ordinary moment with your baby the same way again. This isn't about guilt, this is about awareness, because the moment you understand what's happening, you have the power to change it. Let's begin with number 1. Babies are adaptable, everyone says it, but here's what that belief misses. Babies are adaptable when they have steady, attuned support. Without it, adaptability becomes survival, and survival leaves marks. The first thing on our list is so common that most parents don't think of it as harmful. It's rushing their pace. You know the moment, you're already late, your baby is crouched on the floor, absorbed in the texture of a leaf, the way light moves across the rug, and in your perfectly understandable hurry, you scoop them up and move on. Here's what most parents don't realize. In that quiet moment of deep attention, your baby's brain is doing some of the most important work it will ever do. Neuroscientists call this early sustained attention, and it is the foundation of focus, patience, problem solving, and emotional regulation. Dr. Michael Posner has shown that these moments of voluntary focus actually sculpt the neural networks responsible for executive function. Every time they're interrupted before the baby naturally finishes, the brain registers a tiny message: my focus doesn't matter. Of course, no single interruption rewires anything, but when interruption becomes the default, the pattern adds up and the cost is invisible until much later. Which brings us to number 2, and this one is subtle. It's inconsistent emotional responses. Think about a normal day. In the morning, you pick up your baby with warmth. An hour later, you're deep in a work email and your baby reaches for you. You pick them up distantly, absently. Later, exhausted, you respond with irritation to something you would have laughed at earlier. What most parents don't realize is that babies are building an internal working model of relationships based on the consistency of your responses. When warmth comes sometimes and distance other times, with no pattern the baby can track, secure predictability doesn't form. Dr. Mary Ainsworth's decades of attachment research showed that it isn't the intensity of a parent's love that shapes attachment, it's the reliability. The nervous system is always asking one question: can I count on this person? When the answer fluctuates too much, the baby stops relaxing. They begin to work for love, and that work never fully stops. But it gets even more interesting because number 3 is something you've almost certainly done today: laughing at their distress. Your baby drops their toy and their face crumples. They bump into the couch and look up at you with wide, shocked eyes. And because it is genuinely adorable, you laugh. Here's what's happening inside your baby. They have just expressed a real emotion, and they are looking at your face to understand what to do with it. This is called social referencing, and it is one of the most important survival mechanisms babies possess. They cannot interpret their own experience yet. They need you to reflect it back. When their real distress is met with laughter, a confusing message gets encoded. What I feel isn't real. What I feel is entertainment. Researchers have found that babies whose emotions are consistently laughed at or dismissed as cute show higher rates of emotional suppression by toddlerhood. They learn to perform calm, even when they're not calm. The solution isn't to become grim, it's to pause for a half second before laughing and reflect what you actually see. That looks scary, didn't it? Then the laugh can come. Okay, we're 3 behaviors in, and if you're recognizing yourself in any of these, that recognition itself is a sign of a good parent. These are not things bad parents do. These are things loving parents do because no one has ever explained what's happening underneath. The next one is the one I mentioned at the beginning. Number 4, interrupting their focused attention. Your baby is staring intently at their own hand. For 3 full minutes, they have been turning it, watching the motion with something that almost looks like meditation. And because you love them, you lean in and say, "Hi, sweetie," and the moment shatters. Here is the research that is going to stop you. Studies from the University of Michigan and the Max Planck Institute have shown that these spontaneous attention episodes are directly linked to the development of working memory, cognitive control, and long-term academic ability. Babies who experience frequent adult-initiated interruptions during self-directed focus show measurable differences in attention span by age 3, and the interruption doesn't have to be negative. A cheerful voice, a loving face, all of it can break the fragile neural process happening in that moment. The rule is simple. If your baby is focused and not looking at you, wait. Their brain is doing more work in that silence than in any toy you could offer. Number 5, and this one has quietly become one of the most common issues in modern parenting: distracted feeding. Feeding is not just about calories. From the first days of life, feeding is one of the most important bonding rituals a baby experiences. During feeding, the baby gazes up at the caregiver's face, and in that mutual gaze, enormous developmental work is done: emotional attunement, language preparation, nervous system regulation. But here's what happens when feeding becomes the moment you catch up on your phone. The baby looks up, and the face isn't available. Studies on technoference have shown that distracted feeding is associated with lower eye contact, reduced vocalization, and a measurable decrease in responsive feeding cues. I'm not saying every feed needs to be sacred, but if you can make eye contact during even one feed a day, a phone-free exchange, you are giving your baby something irreplaceable. If something in this video is landing for you, I want to pause here. If no one has ever sat you down and explained what's actually happening in your baby's emotional world, this is exactly the kind of content I create on this channel. Hit that subscribe button, because the next video goes even deeper into what your baby is learning from your face in the first 6 months, and it's not what most parents think. Back to the list. Number 6. Labeling them early. She's the difficult one. He's so shy. She's my dramatic one. These labels feel harmless, but babies are not fixed personalities yet. They are still forming beings whose behavior changes week to week. When a label is repeated consistently, even in love, it becomes part of the story the baby will eventually tell about themselves. Longitudinal studies show that children internalize parental labels as early as toddlerhood, and these labels begin to influence behavior long before the child can articulate them. The shy baby becomes the shy child, becomes the shy adult, not because shyness is fixed, but because the label quietly closed other doors. The solution is to describe behavior instead of assigning identity. She's having a hard moment. He's taking his time to warm up. Those phrasings describe without defining, and that distinction will matter for decades. Number 7, and I promised this one would change how you see ordinary moments. Fake emotions on your face. You've had a difficult morning. Something is weighing on you. Your baby looks up at you, and you do what almost every loving parent does. You smile. A big, bright smile, because you don't want them to feel it. Here's what your baby actually registers. Research from Dr. Edward Tronick has shown that by 6 months old, babies can detect emotional incongruence, the gap between the emotion on a face and the emotion underneath it. When they do, their cortisol rises. Their heart rate shifts, because the message their body receives is this: my caregiver's face says one thing, but my body feels another. I cannot trust what I'm seeing. This is one of the earliest blueprints for anxiety. Not because your pain was too much, but because the dissonance taught the baby's nervous system that faces cannot be fully trusted. The solution isn't to perform distress, it's simply to soften. A soft, honest face is safer than a bright, false one. Number 8. No unstructured time. We live in a culture that treats every moment as a learning opportunity. Flashcards, enrichment classes, constant stimulation. But research is increasingly clear on one point. Boredom is not the enemy of development, it is part of it. When a baby is given quiet, unstructured time, their brain consolidates learning, builds internal curiosity, and begins to generate self-initiated exploration. This is where creativity is born. Babies who are constantly entertained show lower rates of self-directed play by toddlerhood. Their nervous systems become dependent on external input to feel regulated. Give your baby at least one unstructured block each day, just your calm presence in their own pace. That empty space is where some of the most important wiring happens. Number 9. Ignoring their physical cues. Your baby squirms in a certain position and you hold them tighter. Your baby pulls away from a texture and you press it into their hand. Your baby turns their head from a bottle and you redirect them back. These moments feel like caregiving, but babies are already communicating preferences and limits through their body from the very first weeks. When those signals are consistently overridden, even lovingly, the baby learns their body's signals are not trustworthy guides. Body autonomy begins in infancy, not adolescence. Babies who experience responsive attunement to physical cues grow up with dramatically stronger interoception, the ability to read their own body, one of the most protective factors against anxiety and trauma responses later in life. And number 10, the last one, and in many ways the most important, using your baby as an emotional witness. You've had a terrible day. You sit down with your baby on your lap, and without realizing it, you begin to vent, sometimes out loud, sometimes just in the energy of your body, the tension in your shoulders, the sighs, the weight of your mood pouring into the small person in your arms. Your baby cannot understand the words, but they absorb the energy completely. They are not built to process adult emotional weight. Their nervous system is too young, too porous, too fundamentally designed to borrow your regulation, not carry your burden. Researchers call this parentification, and its earliest forms begin not in childhood, but in infancy. This isn't a call to suppress your feelings around your baby. It's an invitation to notice when you're leaning on them for regulation, instead of offering it. The most profound gift you can give your baby is working on your own nervous system, so that when you sit with your baby, you can be the steady presence their system is searching for. So here we are, at the end. If you feel a little tender right now, a little seen, that feeling is not guilt. It's attunement. It's the same quality that makes you a good parent. The fact that you watch this, the fact that you want to understand, the fact that you're asking the question, am I missing something? That question is sacred. Your baby doesn't need a perfect parent. What builds secure attachment isn't getting it right every time. It's the repair, the return, the I see you now, even if I missed it a moment ago. That is what shapes a human being. The disconnection is not the damage. The absence of repair is. So the next time your baby looks at you with that deep, unguarded gaze, know that they are not just looking. They are learning you. They are wiring themselves around your presence. And you, as you are right now, are enough. If this video gave you something, share it with another parent who needs to hear it. I'll see you in the next one.